Askreddit, full-grown adults of Reddit. What is your favorite book that you read as a kid? The Outcast of Redwall by Brian Jacques started me down a path bridled with passion for reading. I bought it at one of those scholastic book fairs because the cover had a ferret on it, and I had always wanted one as a pet. I proceeded to read every Redwall book in existence, and that started my reading habit. Now into stuff like the Dresden Files and hard science fiction, but it all started with that ferret on the cover. Those Redwall books will always have a place in my heart. I loved their little furry adventures so much. The Bunnicula series. My elementary school briefly banned Bunnicula, which led to us kids searching for the series in the public library, which some had never been to, and then a fad of trying to find new vegetables to try and suck the juices out of. In retrospect, it seems we were played. Roald Dahl, loved his books, all of them. I loved James and the Giant Peach. The Boxcar Children. I loved the series as a kid, and those books were ones that I was able to find pretty often at the thrift store, which is where I got all my books as a kid. I still have my collection of them, that I'm saving for my kids to enjoy and to be able to read to them before bed like my dad did for me. I completely forgot about these. They were essential reading if you wanted to be one of the cool kids at my elementary school. Matilda. It holds a special place in my heart because my prep teacher gave it to me because she knew I loved reading. She said I reminded her of Matilda, without the abuse. That and The Faraway Tree, The Enchanted Forest. Matilda is great. Do you know that there is a Broadway adaptation of the book? It's really good and have some great songs, so I recommend to look it up. Goosebumps. Sometimes walking through the school library you'd spot one and hide it to check out on your library day. Also, if you don't see one on library day, you look for hidden ones because everyone knew the game. When I turned 12, I was so pumped because all the protagonists were 12. Kept a watchful eye that year. Goosebumps. I remember going down to the library before class and then spending all day trying to sneak read under my desk. I really enjoyed Artemis Fowl series. I'm worried about the upcoming movie. Hopefully it will be better than other adaptations of my favorite books, Looking at You, Aragon and Golden Compass. Damn, Artemis Fowl hits different. I had a fan account, I do believe, when I was about 10. I really loved the Anne of Green Gables series and the Phantom Tollbooth. I forgot about the Phantom Tollbooth for many years, but one line stayed with me. When he was at school, he wanted to be home, and when he was home, he wanted to be at school. That was me for most of 7th-9th grade. As a 13-year-old boy, I loved reading Judy Blume. She taught me a lot. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret was terrific. The Fudge series was huge for me because my younger sibling got away with everything and I was always blamed for it. It sucked, but it did highlight how Judy Blume could nail the rich emotional world of being a yacht. I loved the Animorph series. I used to beg to go to the bookstores waiting on the new releases. I'm surprised it took me this long to find your comment. Animorphs was a favorite of mine too. Holes, Louis Satcher Hatchet, Gary Paulson, The River, Brian's Winter, and Brian's Return are all good too. Yeah, Holes was like my kid book version of The Office. Finished a book, nothing else to read around? Read Holes for the 6th time. A Wrinkle in Time. Came here to post this. No other book stuck with me like A Wrinkle in Time. I've reread it many times and gifted it on several occasions. The Hobbit. This would be my answer, except that it was my dad that read it to me and my sister. So technically it didn't count as me reading it myself. Every night we would both gather around so he could read further and it was always a super exciting part of the evening. Leerile. Didn't expect to see that here. Read it as an adult, still super good. Really Young, The Rainbow Fish, Young, The Hatchet. I loved The Rainbow Fish and its art as a kid. The Little House books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I just finished reading Prairie Fire, The American Dreams of Laura Ingalls Wilder. Her life was much darker and more difficult than those sweet Little House books portrayed. I am glad she softened it. They are a slice of comfort to me. I reread the series once a year. They will always be my favorites. This is the one for me too. I had them all, from Martha to Rose. Little Women. It's still my favorite. I'm a dude, and I caught metric fractons of shit for liking this book. Well, screw you then, because Little Women is awesome. The Five Chinese Brothers. It came out in 1938, but I read it in the early 1970s. It's a pretty fracking morbid book, now that I think about it. Why I didn't find it morbid, and why neither my teachers nor my parents found it morbid, is beyond me. Each brother, who all look alike, has some special power. One of the brothers accidentally lets a little boy die. So the brother is sentenced to death by beheading. Another brother takes his place, and his superpower is that he has a very strong neck. So he lives, but is sentenced to drowning. Another brother takes his place, and his superpower is water resistance, or something. So he lives, but is sentenced to being burned alive. Another brother takes his place, and his superpower is fire resistance. So he lives, but is sentenced to bow suffocation. Another brother takes his place, and his superpower is being able to hold his breath. He lives, and they give up trying to kill the guy. Oh, the original brother? His superpower is being able to hold the whole sea in his mouth. I'm a grown man, and this is pretty morbid and grotesque book. Not to mention, the ethnic stereotypes are terrible. But it was right there on the shelves of the elementary school library. Go figure. I loved that story, but read it more as an allegory of brotherhood and the power of resistance to injustice. Its undertone of being cleverly subversive was also fun for a kid growing up around authoritarian conservative types. When I was very young it was Are You My Mother? By P.D. Eastman. As I got older I loved anything by Gary Paulson or Judy Blume. Also the Hardy Boys mysteries. As a teenager it was anything by John Grisham. When I was very young it was Are You My Mother? By P.D. Eastman. For the longest time I would have sworn on a stack of pancakes that was a Dr. Seuss book. The Giver. If you're interested, The Giver is actually book one of a quartet, The Giver, The Messenger, Gathering Blue, and Sun, and they're all equally amazing, plus they blend really well. I always loved The Giver, and when I recently read it again I read the whole set and absolutely loved them. The Stinky Cheeseman and Other Fairly Stupid Stories. Oh my god, yes. My older brother actually brought home from school and my other brother and I wouldn't stop bugging him to share it with us. The Adventures of Tintin. Tintin taught me that pistol whipping your enemies into unconsciousness is an option, if you happen to be out of ammo. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. That series was my gateway to sci-fi. Her writing was just incredible. Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I absolutely loved all the wordplay in those books. And I used to memorize the poems. Even now if you ask me, I will recite Jabberwocky. It's stuck hard in there. Same. Obviously, Through the Looking Glass stuck with me, see username. I Love the Warrior series by Aaron Hunter. The Cat Society books. Read these in 4th-6th grade. That series was nuts. They fracked each other up. I first read the His Dark Materials trilogy when I was in middle school and it's still so good. I reread it every few years. Same with Watership Down. The Redwall books were great too and every once in a while I'll pick one of them up again. I've reread His Dark Materials a couple of times. Next time I read it, I'm going to skip the last couple of chapters and pretend Will and Lyra live together happily ever after. The Indian in the Cupboard. Totally wouldn't fly in today's culture, but that book was awesome. Had to scroll down way too much to find this. This book really opened up my imagination. When I was really young, it was The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Around the age of 10, my favorites tended to be Treasure Island, and Robin Hood. Early teens, Tolkien's The Hobbit, and the trilogy. Late teens, pretty much anything by Robert Heinlein. He was so far ahead of his time. The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Wow, I haven't thought about that series in decades. Thanks for the memories. Watership Down. Mom. The Lord of the Rings and Battle Royale. When I was 6 to 10, it was the Redwall books. When my parents started taking my light bulb at night because I was falling asleep in school, I started stealing batteries for my flashlight. Then the bulb started dying, and I had to steal replacement maglite bulbs. Battle Royale. You must have been a fracked up kid. Many of my favorites have already been mentioned, so I will say From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. I still want to run away and secretly live in a museum. Loved Mixed Up Files. Bridge to Terabithia. I had the belief in elementary school that this book was part of the Narnia series, because I was stupid, and thought the canonical place to read it was between Prince Caspian and Dawn Treader, which are not as sad. The Secret Garden, Frances Hodgson Burnett. As a kid, the story triggered my imagination with its mysteries, intrigue, and adventure. It also taught valuable life lessons that are applicable today. Still one of my favorites. To me, books like The Secret Garden, and other works from Frances Hodgson Burnett, Anne of Green Gables and Little Women aren't just children books, they're books about children, but are so well written and lovely that adults can enjoy as well. IDK if it counts as a book, but I read Calvin and Hobbes and loved every minute of it. It counts. Anything by Darren Shan. Damn, those were good books for the age I read them. Cirque and the Demonata. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Although The Color of Magic by Pratchett and The Stainless Steel Rat by Harry Harrison also were some of my favorites. I love The Stainless Steel Rat, but can't find it at the library to reread. The Prydain Chronicles by Lloyd Alexander. Named all my Lego Castle mini-figures after the characters. Reread that series so many times. Honorable mention, The House with a Clock in Its Walls. I can't believe I had to get this far down to see the Prydain Chronicles. Terran Wanderer was my favorite, but I loved the whole series. Encyclopedia Brown was my shit. One thing that mysteries do is give you a mindset of analyzing people according to varying classifications of behavior, beliefs, and motivations. Unfortunately, when you look at the world through that mindframe, average people just think you're judgmental. Only his mother called him Leroy. A Dog Called Kitty, or Anything by Shel Silverstein. Bill Wallace was my favorite author growing up. I think A Dog Called Kitty was the first book I ever cried reading. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. We did a piece in school about it and it was great. It taught me about socially accepting those with autism and similar issues at an early age and gave me an understanding of what it is like to struggle with daily life. This is an incredible book. Please subscribe. Multiple videos uploaded daily.